Hello and welcome back to my channel. Make sure you like and subscribe to my channel. Let's begin. A goat-like creature opened his eyes and saw a massive light coming from something in front of him. He asked, "Who are you?" "Who am I?" The bodiless creature replied, "I am the god and your father who created you, and your name is Arceus. You are created for creating a world." Arceus responded, "But how will I create a world? I don't have such powers." The god assured him, "I have given you the power to create the world, and here is your brother." He pointed to a sleeping goat-like creature. "His name is Arceus. Just like you will bring happiness, he will bring sorrow. You are a symbol of light, and he represents darkness. He will try to destroy your world." Feeling afraid, Arceus listened as the god continued, "Don't be afraid, my son. I have sent him to sleep. He will not attack your world now." Arceus asked, "But father, why did you create him if he will try to destroy my world?" The god replied, "To maintain balance, my son. And don't worry, when he becomes stronger and awakens, I will be born in your world and defeat him." This made Arceus feel better, and he said, "Okay, father. Now I am going to create a new world." The god nodded, and Arceus left. Arceus created 3 legendary Pokemon and named them Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina. Dialga and Palkia began to shape the new world, but Giratina had bad intentions, so Arceus sent him to the distortion world. Eventually, the world was created, complete with land, water, and sky. From the pressure of magma, a new Pokemon named Groudon was born. From the pressure in water, another Pokemon named Kyogre emerged. Similarly, pressure in the ozone formed a new Pokemon named Rayquaza. However, Groudon and Kyogre soon began to fight because Groudon wanted to spread land while Kyogre wanted to spread water. This caused destruction everywhere, and to protect the Earth, Rayquaza had to intervene and stop their battle. As time passed, new species of Pokemon began to develop, and soon humans were born, leading to the growth of the world. However, over time, humans became cruel and hungry for power. Arceus realized that his brother's power had started to awaken. He knew he couldn't defeat his brother because he had been busy saving his world, which drained much of his power, while his brother had rested. Understanding the gravity of the situation, Arceus decided to seek help from the god. Without wasting time, he went to him. The god welcomed him, "Welcome, my child. Now you finally remember me." Arceus replied, "Yes, father. Now it is your time to be born in my world, and I have found a good place." The god responded, "So you have made arrangements?" "Yes, father," Arceus confirmed. "Then I am going," the god said, and the light began to disappear, entering a house in Pallet town through the window and into the womb of a lady. On that day, every Pokemon in the world felt the energy of the god, and some began to move toward the source of that energy. A few days later, Delia was happily walking to Professor Oak's laboratory. She rang the doorbell, and a man in his 50s opened the door, wearing a lab coat. Noticing Delia's happiness, he asked, "Delia, my girl, what has made you so happy?" Delia replied, "Professor, I am so happy because I will become a mother." "Wow, that is amazing news. Congratulations on becoming a mother in the future," the professor said. "If he were here, he would be very happy. Don't you think, Professor?" Delia asked. "Yes, Delia, he will definitely be happy," the professor agreed. Delia said, "I will send this news to him. I hope he sees." "He definitely will see. After all, he will be this boy's father," the professor reassured her. Delia went into deep thought, and the professor asked, "Are you again thinking about that miracle?" "Yes, Professor," she confirmed. "I think this is because of this child. I still can't believe that all Pokemon started bowing to you and helping you in your daily tasks," the professor remarked. "Yes, Professor, I think the same," Delia replied. A week ago, some Pokemon had sensed the huge energy and discovered that the god was going to be born in human form, currently in that lady's womb. They began to bow to her and assist her in her daily work, surprising both Delia and the professor with their sudden change in behavior. 2 days later, while wandering around the professor's ranch, they found a Charmeleon covered in wounds and bruises. They quickly ran to her, and unconsciously, Delia touched Charmeleon's forehead. Suddenly, her hand and stomach began to glow blue, and all the bruises and wounds healed in seconds. They thought it was a miracle. In the present, Delia asked, "So that happened because of this child, right, Professor?" "Yes, my girl Delia, this happened because of this child." "But it was truly unbelievable," the professor replied. Delia smiled and touched her stomach, saying, "You are something else, my son." The professor then asked, "Delia, I want a favor from you." "What is that, Professor?" "You can ask me anything," she responded. "I want to be this child's grandfather," he said, shocking Delia. "This is because he doesn't have his father now, so I want to become his grandfather. I want him to call me grandfather, and you know that Leaf is also PRGN now. When they are born, they will share a brotherly relationship. If this is okay with you," he explained. "Professor, that is perfectly fine with me. I actually want this to happen," Delia said, smiling. "Thank you, Delia," the professor replied. "Why are you thanking me, Professor?" "You know that I am like a daughter to you," she said. Professor Oak laughed. "Yes, I know." Delia joined in the laughter, and after wandering around the professor's ranch, she returned home. Chapter end. 8 months and 3 weeks later, Delia lay in a hospital bed, tears streaming down her face as she prepared to become a mother. The doctors were busy with their tasks when suddenly, the sound of a baby crying filled the air. Outside the room, Professor Oak waited anxiously for the DLVRY. Upon hearing the baby's cry, he jumped with joy. Leaf, Gary's mother, stood beside him, holding 2-month-old Gary in her arms. She too understood the significance of the sound and shared in the excitement. As the doors opened, the doctor emerged with a solemn expression. "Doctor, I heard the baby cry. That means the baby is born, right?" Professor Oak asked eagerly. "Yes, but I'm afraid we couldn't save the mother," the doctor replied. Upon hearing this, both Professor Oak and Leaf were overcome with emotion. The doctor led them into the room, where they prepared to say their goodbyes to Delia. Just then, the baby, cradled in a nurse's arms, reached out and touched Delia's forehead. A miraculous glow enveloped Delia, and she was revived. When she opened her eyes, she saw the professor and doctors looking at her in amazement, tears in their eyes. "What happened, Professor?" Delia asked, confused. "It's a miracle, Delia. You were gone, but this child brought you back," Professor Oak explained. Delia was stunned. "What do you mean? I've never seen anything like this in my medical career." "This boy is special," the doctor added. "Forget that for now. What will you name him?" Professor Oak prompted. Delia thought for a moment before responding, "Ash. Ash Ketchum. My son has brought me back to life from the ashes." "That's a wonderful name, Delia," Professor Oak said. "Thank you, Professor." She looked at Ash and promised, "Honey, Mommy will never leave you. I will always be with you and take good care of you." Ash smiled, and his joy melted the hearts of everyone present. They congratulated Delia on becoming a mother, unaware of the mysterious figure observing them. "Welcome to the world, my son. When the time is right, I will take you and your mother to our true home. This is my promise, and a Ketchum's promise is never broken," the unknown man whispered before leaving. From the day of Ash's birth, every Pokemon played with him. Now 3 years old, Ash had to say goodbye as his friends returned to their families. Just then, a Dragonite approached him, offering an egg. "My lord, please take this egg." "It is a gift from me," Dragonite said, knowing Ash could understand Pokemon. "I can't take it, Dragonite." "This is your egg," Ash replied. "No, my lord. I trust you will keep it safe. You are the creator of the universe, and I know it will grow stronger with you, Dragonite insisted. Alright, I will take care of this egg. It will be like my own brother. I promise, Ash said. Dragonite smiled, knowing Ash would keep his word, and then flew away. Gary approached Ash, saying, "Hey, Ash, Gramps is calling you." His eyes fell on the egg. "How did you find this?" "First, stop calling me Ashy Boy." "A Dragonite gave it to me," Ash replied. "Okay, but come on. Grandpa wants to talk to you," Gary urged. Curious, Ash followed Gary into the house, where Professor Oak and Delia were discussing something important. "Oh, Ash and Gary, my boys. We want to talk to you about something," Professor Oak said. "What is it, Grandpa?" Ash asked. "It's about your fathers," Professor Oak replied. "Our fathers?" Gary echoed. "Yes, Ash, do you know your father's name?" Delia inquired. "No, you've never told me about him," Ash said. "I thought it wasn't the right time," Delia admitted. "Why now?" Ash asked. "Because it's time to let you know about your father," Delia explained. "What is his name?" Ash pressed. "Your father is none other than the world champion, Red Ketchum," Delia revealed. Both Ash and Gary's jaws dropped in disbelief. "What?" they exclaimed. Professor Oak chuckled. "And Gary, your father is the Kanto champion, Blue Oak." Once again, their jaws dropped. "Why didn't you tell us this earlier?" Ash asked. "Because we thought it wasn't the right time. They were both very happy when they learned you were born. They love you both very much," Professor Oak reassured them. "Then why don't they live with us? Do they not love us?" Ash questioned, hurt. "They love you, but they have their own responsibilities. They are out there saving the world, and I believe they will come to live with us within 2 years," Delia promised. "Really? They will come?" Ash asked, hope shining in his eyes. They both nodded, and Ash and Gary jumped with joy, more determined than ever to become Pokemon masters. Then the professor noticed the egg, and when he asked, Ash explained that he got it from a Dragonite. A few days later, the egg hatched, revealing a Dratini. The Dratini looked up and asked, "Are you my father?" Ash replied, "No, I am not your father." "Then who are you, and how can you understand me?" the Dratini inquired. Ash flared his aura in a way only Dratini could sense, prompting the Dratini to bow its head and say, "My lord." Ash quickly reassured, "You don't have to bow to me. We can be friends." "Really?" the Dratini asked, eyes wide with hope. "Yes, my friend. And I will catch you first," Ash declared. The Dratini jumped with joy, exclaiming, "I will be the first Pokemon of my lord. This is amazing." "Yeah, Dratini," Ash agreed, just as he heard his mother calling from the kitchen. "Come down, honey. Dinner is ready," Delia called. "Okay, Mom, coming." Ash replied, heading downstairs to find Delia setting the table. She looked up and said, "Come and sit here." "Mom, I want to show you something," Ash said excitedly. "What is it, honey?" Delia asked. "Dratini, come here." Ash called. The Dratini emerged from behind him. "So it hatched," Delia said, smiling. "Yeah. Dratini, say hi to Mom," Ash encouraged. "Hi, Mom." Dratini greeted. "Hi, Dratini. Now, Ash, come and sit on this chair," Delia said, pointing. "Dratini, you sit here too." She offered Dratini some Pokemon food. "Mom, can I ask a question?" Ash ventured. "Of course, honey. You can ask me anything," Delia replied. "Mom, can you catch Dratini for me? Please." Ash pleaded. "Yes, honey. I will catch him, and when he turns 10, I will give him to you," Delia promised. Ash and Dratini jumped with joy at this news. Delia smiled, murmuring to herself, "He is just like you, Red. I wonder when you will return." "You hear that, Dratini? You can be my best friend, and we can travel together." Ash exclaimed. "Yes, my lord, we can travel together." "I wonder how the world is," Dratini replied. "Yeah," Ash said, then an idea struck him. "Let's go to Professor Oak's ranch. You can see many different Pokemon there." "Really?" Dratini jumped with excitement. "Yeah, really," Ash confirmed, glancing at his mother, who nodded in approval. Together, Ash and Dratini set off towards Professor Oak's lab. Upon arrival, they were congratulated by Professor Oak and Gary. Ash thanked them and headed toward the ranch. Dratini was amazed by the variety of Pokemon, and Ash chuckled, saying, "They are nothing in number compared to other Pokemon in the world." A week later, Ash, Dratini, and Gary were playing at Professor Oak's ranch when Gary suggested, "Hey brother, why don't we have a Pokemon match?" "That's a good idea, but you don't have any Pokemon with you," Ash pointed out. "Don't worry, Ashy boy. I will take any of these Pokemon," Gary said, gesturing to the other Pokemon in the ranch. "That's a good idea, but which Pokemon will you choose?" Ash asked. Gary began searching for a suitable Pokemon when suddenly, a blue Pokemon appeared from a bush. Gary spotted it and wanted to catch it. He approached the Pokemon, and Ash called out, "So you want to play with that Pokemon?" Gary nodded and asked, "But I don't know its name." "His name is Vaporeon," Ash informed him. "Vaporeon, huh?" Gary said, moving closer. Vaporeon turned slightly, wary. "Wait, I won't hurt you. I promise." "Will you play with me?" Gary said gently. Vaporeon shook its head, replying, "No." "Okay, but I haven't seen you here before. Are you new?" Gary asked. Vaporeon nodded, explaining, "Some people wanted to catch me because I ate their food, but I was just so hungry." "What? They wanted to catch you because you ate their food?" Ash asked, surprised. Vaporeon nodded again, "I have to go now." "Okay, as you wish," Ash said as Vaporeon left. Gary turned to Ash and Dratini, saying, "I'm going to catch another Pokemon. Will you help me?" Ash and Dratini nodded, and they set off to find another Pokemon. Suddenly, they heard a cry and rushed toward the sound. They found two people mistreating Vaporeon. "This is your punishment," one person said. "Yeah, you ate our food, now eat this," the other added, brandishing a stick. Just as the stick was about to strike Vaporeon, Gary caught it. "If you try to hurt him, you'll face the consequences," Gary warned. The two people laughed, dismissing the kids. They sent out their Pokemon, an Elekid and a Piku. "Go, Dratini. Aqua Tail," Ash commanded. Dratini's tail glowed blue and struck both Pokemon, causing them to back away. However, being electric types, they weren't significantly harmed. "Thunderbolt," the attackers shouted. The attack hit Dratini, and smoke filled the air. When it cleared, Dratini was visibly bruised. "Dratini, are you alright?" Ash asked, concerned. Dratini nodded, determined to protect Ash. Suddenly, its body began to glow blue, and when the light faded, Dratini had evolved into Dragonair. "Dratini, you evolved!" Ash exclaimed. Dragonair nodded proudly. "That's great. Now, Dragonair, use Hyper Beam," Ash commanded. Dragonair unleashed a powerful attack, causing both opposing Pokemon to faint. The attackers recalled their Pokemon and turned their attention back to Vaporeon, who trembled in fear. "I won't let you go," one person shouted, raising the stick again. Vaporeon closed its eyes in fear, but instead of pain, it heard a boy's cry. Opening its eyes, Vaporeon saw Gary standing protectively in front of it, taking the hit from the stick. Vaporeon, filled with anger, retaliated with a water gun, hitting the attacker directly. Both people fled in fear. Gary turned to Vaporeon and asked, "Are you okay?" Vaporeon nodded, grateful for Gary's bravery. As Ash, Gary, and Dragonair began to move, they were suddenly halted by the sound of a cry from Vaporeon. Turning around, they saw Vaporeon in front of Gary, seemingly wanting to communicate something. Ash observed, "It looks like he wants to join you." "Really, Vaporeon?" Gary asked, surprised. Vaporeon nodded in agreement. Filled with excitement, Gary exclaimed, "Welcome to the team, Vaporeon. I'll catch you when I turn 10. Until then, my grandpa can catch you and transfer you to me. Does that sound good?" Vaporeon nodded once more. Gary then challenged Ash, "Looks like I can battle you now, Ashy boy." "Yeah, you can, Gare Bear," Ash replied, and they both shared a laugh over their playful nicknames. The chapter came to a close. Ash, Gary, and Dragonair were playing at the professor's ranch when they suddenly heard a cry. A scyther fell in front of them, showing signs of injury. Concerned, Ash and Gary quickly brought the scyther into the professor's lab, calling for help. Inside the lab, Professor Oak was startled by their urgent voices. He rushed to find Ash and Gary beside the injured scyther on the bed. The sight filled him with worry, and he hurried to assess the situation. Ash felt panic rise within him at the sight of the injured Pokemon. He wanted to help but knew he needed to wait for the professor. An idea struck him: while Professor Oak treated the scyther, he could use his powers to assist in the healing. Together with Gary, they carefully lifted the scyther and placed it on the bed, calling for Professor Oak once more. When he arrived, he quickly began to examine the scyther, and Ash explained what had happened. Gary asked if the professor could help the scyther, and when he nodded, both boys cheered with joy. Professor Oak smiled at their bond and instructed them to step outside while he treated the scyther. As they waited, Ash secretly used his powers to help speed up the healing process. After treatment, the scyther revealed that he had been the leader of a gang but had been attacked by a pincer. Ash promised to train him, and the scyther expressed his admiration, saying he believed Ash was destined for greatness. They began training together, with Scyther sparring against Dragonair. Although he initially lost, Scyther persevered and trained through the night. The next morning, they faced off again, resulting in a draw. A couple of hours later, Ash, Gary, and Dragonair watched as Scyther battled the current gang leader. This time, Scyther emerged victorious. Instead of claiming the title for himself, he offered the position to the defeated leader, who accepted, wanting to join Ash's team. Taken aback, Ash smiled and explained that while he couldn't officially make Scyther his Pokemon until he turned 10, he could still be part of their family. Scyther agreed, and they all headed home together. Later, Ash and Gary engaged in a friendly Pokemon match, with Ash using Dragonair and Gary using Vaporeon. After a decisive victory, they discussed their fathers and their aspirations to become strong trainers. Ash expressed his desire to one day defeat his father, while Gary encouraged him. They decided to visit Ash's mother, Delia, to learn more about their fathers. Upon arrival, they found her gardening. Ash asked her about their fathers, and Delia, initially surprised, smiled and shared that Red and Blue were remarkable trainers and individuals. She explained that Red was the founder of an organization called Coronation, which fought against evil forces to protect the world. Inspired, Ash and Gary declared their ambition to follow in their father's footsteps. As the chapter came to a close, the author expressed gratitude for the support received and reflected on the challenges of maintaining the story, feeling disheartened by some negative feedback. Ash, Delia, and Dragonair then set out to buy vegetables at the grocery shop, marking Ash's first trip outside of Pallet town. As they walked through the forest, Delia sensed an impending danger approaching them with her powers. Although she possessed abilities, she didn't want Ash to know about them just yet. She wanted him to experience a normal childhood among people so he could understand them better. Suddenly, a swarm of Beedrills appeared in front of them, causing panic. Ash was aware of the beedrills surrounding them but pretended to be frightened so his mother wouldn't suspect that he could sense them. Out of nowhere, the queen beedrill appeared, ready to attack Ash with her sharp stings. Just in time, Dragonair intervened, taking the hit but getting pushed back by the force of the attack. Ash rushed to Dragonair's side, cradling its head in his lap. In Ash's thoughts, he reflected on how he had been excited to go to the grocery store with his mom and Dragonair. It was his first time leaving Pallet Town, but he had sensed the beedrills nearby. When he noticed the same worried expression on his mother's face, he felt confused. As the swarms surrounded them, he maintained a facade of panic, but he was not truly afraid. When the queen beedrill attacked, he was prepared to take the hit, knowing it wouldn't harm him. However, Dragonair jumped in front of him, taking the blow instead. "Why, Dragonair? Why did you take that attack?" Ash asked, concern in his voice. "Because I wanted to protect you," Dragonair replied, calling Ash, "my lord," which confused Delia even more. "Stop calling me that. You knew it wouldn't hurt me. Why did you jump in?" Ash pressed. Delia was puzzled, wondering why Ash wouldn't be affected by the attack, as she knew it would hurt her even with her powers. "I know the attack won't hurt you, Ash, but I can't stand by and let anyone attack you," Dragonair explained. While they were talking, another beedrill lunged at Ash. Delia quickly used her powers to summon a flock of Pidgeots for protection. A Pidgeot emerged from the bushes and attacked the beedrill, followed by a whole flock that began to fend off the swarm. Then, a beedrill struck Delia, causing her to bleed. Seeing this made Ash furious, and an aura of power radiated from him, making everyone feel his presence. Delia was shocked by this display. All the Pokemon bowed before Ash, while the beedrills trembled in fear. "Why did you attack my mother?" Ash demanded. "We're sorry, my lord. We thought you were here to take our eggs. Please forgive us," the queen beedrill pleaded. Hearing this, Ash calmed down. "If you do this to any good people again, I will not hesitate to protect them. Not everyone is bad, I hope you understand." After saying this, he stepped back and noticed Delia was still in shock. He healed her wound, stopping the bleeding, and erased her memory of the incident. When Delia regained her composure, Ash suggested they head to the grocery store before it closed. Although she noticed the Pokemon around them, she quickly dismissed her confusion and nodded in agreement. As they continued on their way, the leader of the Pidgeot flock and the queen beedrill approached Ash, asking him to catch them. Taken aback by their request, Ash looked at his mother, who nodded and handed him 2 Pokeball. He caught the queen beedrill and designated the second most experienced Pidgeot as the new leader of the flock. With their new companions, they made their way toward the grocery store. 1 year later, Ash was now 4 years old and had become a skilled battler. His abilities had significantly improved, making him a formidable rival to any champion. In battles, he was unpredictable, always coming up with new strategies that kept his opponents guessing. No kid in Pallet Town could defeat him in Pokemon battles, he was the strongest of them all. At that moment, Ash was engaged in a battle with Gary. Ash was using his Pidgeot, while Gary had recently caught a Heracross, which he was now using in the match. Earlier, Ash and Gary had been playing volleyball at Professor Oak's ranch. They were having fun, hitting the ball back and forth until Ash struck it so hard that it flew across the trees. "Sorry," Ash said sheepishly. "It's not your fault, Ash." "Let's go find it," Gary replied, and Ash nodded in agreement. "Let's go and find that ball," Ash exclaimed, pumping his fist in the air. As they searched for the ball, Gary noticed someone sitting by the pond. He approached and realized it was a Heracross. "Heracross, what are you doing here?" Gary asked. The Heracross turned to see Gary and then looked back toward the lake. Ash had caught up by then and noticed that the Heracross seemed disappointed. "What's the matter, Heracross? You seem upset," Ash asked. The Heracross glanced back at Ash and replied, Heracross, you wouldn't understand what I'm saying because you're human. Why should I tell you? Just speak, Heracross. I can understand you very well, Ash insisted. The Heracross was taken aback. You can understand me, but how? That's not important, Heracross. Just tell us why you're sad, Ash encouraged. Note, Ash could understand Pokemon speech because he was the creator of the universe, a fact known to Gary, Delia, and Professor Oak. There's no need to tell you. You can't fix my problem, the Heracross replied. Heracross, believe in us. We can help you. Just tell us what's bothering you, Gary said. The Heracross looked into Gary's eyes and saw trust there, so he decided to share. The thing is, I lost my sense of smell. Now I can't smell the scent of flowers and trees. Ash and Gary were taken aback. That's the only thing bothering you, they exclaimed in unison. You think it's a small problem? I've lost my sense of smell, the Heracross said, growing frustrated. No, Heracross, I'm not saying it's not a problem. I'm saying that Professor Oak can help you, Gary reassured him. Really? Professor Oak can solve this? The Heracross asked, hopeful. Yes, he can, Gary confirmed. They all headed to the lab and explained the situation to Professor Oak. After examining the Heracross, Professor Oak provided him with a medicine. Once the Heracross took it, he approached a vase filled with flowers and took a deep breath. His face lit up with joy as he realized he could smell the flowers again. Overjoyed, he decided to join Gary's team. The match between Ash and Gary was approaching, and a surprise awaited them. This story would explore the rise of evil, focusing on the characters and their journeys. In a dark room, a shadowy figure sat in a chair, engaged in a conversation. The man asked, "Is everything going according to plan?" A voice responded, "Yes, Sir Giovanni. We have captured Auntie and are close to catching Suicune." Giovanni smirked, pleased with the news, and instructed the man to leave. Just then, the videophone on the table began to ring. Giovanni answered, revealing a man in his mid-30s with a brown beard and hair. Giovanni inquired, "So, tell me the reason for your call." The man smiled and replied, "I have thought about your proposal and reached a conclusion." Giovanni leaned in, eager to hear more. "So what will you do, Lysandra?" he asked. "I will join you," Lysandra said with a smirk. Giovanni returned the smile, pleased with the alliance. "What will be the name of the organization?" Lysandra asked. "Team Secret Rocket," Giovanni replied. "That's a good name. Who else is joining us?" Lysandra continued. "Team Magma, Aqua, Galactic, and Team Skull," Giovanni listed. "Now that sounds promising," Lysandra agreed. Giovanni ended the call, contemplating his grand plan. "You don't know my full intentions, Lysandra. I aim not only to rule this world but also to control the legendaries and Arceus. I will eliminate all evil organizations, including Team Flare, ensuring my dominance over the world." Just then, a man in his mid-20s entered the room, announcing, "Sir, we have found the core of Arceus." At present, Ash was battling Gary. Ash commanded his Pidgeot while Gary used his newly caught Heracross. "Gary, you can have the first move," Ash offered. "Thanks, Ashy boy," Gary replied, prompting Ash to respond coldly, "Stop calling me that." Gary quickly apologized, and Ash accepted, signaling the start of the battle. "Heracross, use Mega Horn," Gary commanded. Heracross charged at Pidgeot with impressive speed. "Dodge it, Pidgeot," Ash instructed, and Pidgeot easily evaded the attack. "How does he manage to dodge?" Gary grumbled. "You need to do better, Gary. Only then can you defeat me," Ash encouraged. "Okay, but you won't escape this time. Heracross, use Sleep Powder." Gary smirked, releasing a pink powder into the air. "Pidgeot, use Gust." Ash countered, creating a wind that carried the sleep powder away. "Ah, not again. This move fails too, Gary lamented. Enough playing. Pidgeot, use Hyper Beam. Ash commanded. Pidgeot unleashed a powerful pink beam toward Heracross. Heracross, use Solar Beam to block it. Gary shouted. The two beams collided, but Ash's Hyper Beam overpowered Heracross, knocking it out in one move. Heracross. Gary rushed to his Pokémon, relieved to see it nod in response. After returning Heracross, he shook hands with Ash. You defeated me again, Ash, Gary admitted. Yeah, I know. Tell me something I don't know, Ash replied playfully. What was that? Gary asked, confused. Just forget it, Ash said. Okay, but tell me how your Pokémon got so strong. Training alone can't make a Pokémon that powerful, can it? Gary questioned. It can, Gary. I trained hard to make my Pokémon strong. You can join me for training, Ash offered. Really? Gary asked, surprised. Yes, Ash confirmed. Gary, feeling grateful, gave Ash a brief hug before stepping back. You wait, Ashy boy. When I train, I will come back to defeat you. Ash glared playfully at Gary. How many times do I have to tell you not to call me Ashy boy, Gare Bear? Okay, Gary gulped nervously. Unknown to them, Professor Oak and Delia were watching before the match even started. To reveal his presence and praise Ash for his strength, Professor Oak approached the duo and said, Ash, my boy, you have gotten very strong. Delia nodded in agreement. Ash looked surprised. Mom and Grandpa, what are you doing here? How long have you been here? Delia replied, since the beginning. Ash's eyes widened. You mean you watched us battle? So, how was I? Professor Oak smiled. You were very good, Ash. I am truly impressed. You fought with the power of an elite, maybe even a champion. Do you want to battle me? Ash was taken aback. Are you a trainer, Professor Oak? Delia chimed in, you don't know, Ash, but he was the previous Kanto champion. At that moment, both Ash and Gary exclaimed, what? Seeing their reactions, they chuckled. Professor Oak continued, yes, you heard her right, kids. I was the former Kanto champion. Gary and Ash were in disbelief, lost in thought until Delia pinched them to bring them back to reality. After regaining his focus, Ash asked, but Professor, if you were a champion, why did you become a professor? Professor Oak explained, after Blue was born, I decided to leave the champion role to focus on my family. Champions have to dedicate themselves fully to their duties and often don't have time for their loved ones. I handed my title to Lance, who was on the verge of defeating me, but I managed to win against him. Gary processed this information and said, so that's what happened. Delia confirmed, yes, Gary. Suddenly, an idea struck Gary. My grandfather was a champion, my father is a champion, and I will be the next champion, he declared enthusiastically, fist-pumping the air. Ash retorted, that's not going to happen, Gary, as long as I'm here. We'll see, Ashy boy, Gary replied with a smirk. Ash glared at Gary, his expression fierce enough to intimidate anyone. Gary gulped and started to run, prompting Ash to chase after him, determined to confront him. The elders watched their antics and chuckled. Professor Oak remarked, they are just like their parents. In fact, Gary is the spitting image of Blue in both looks and behavior, while Ash mirrors his father, Red. Delia nodded, yes, both Ash and Red were reckless, yet caring and loving. Meanwhile, in a different location, a brown-haired man sat in a chair, speaking with one of his agents. Sir, the Project OC001 is ready, the agent reported. Ah. It got ready ahead of my expectations, the man replied. Yes, sir. Our team of scientists worked diligently on it, the agent confirmed. Okay, Arnold, you may leave now, the man instructed. As Arnold exited, the man said to himself, now you wait, Giovanni. I know you want to eliminate me, but I will take you down first," and he began to laugh. Today was a significant day for Ash because he had challenged Professor Oak, who gladly accepted. Previously, Ash hadn't challenged him because he didn't know Oak was a champion or even a Pokemon trainer. Now, he was eager to test the power of a champion and his own skills. "Are you ready for the battle, Ash?" Professor Oak asked. "Yes, Professor. I am so eager to battle you and now I am ready," Ash replied, giving a thumbs up. "I'll be the referee," Gary announced. "This is an unofficial battle between Professor Oak and Ash. You both have to use only one Pokemon. Let's start the battle. Go, Dragonite," Professor Oak said, throwing a Pokeball into the air. "Me too, Dragonite. Stand for me," Ash called, sending out his own Dragonite. "Ash, you can have the first move," Professor Oak offered. "Thanks, Professor." "Dragonite, Dragon Claw," Ash commanded, as his Dragonite dashed toward Oak's Dragonite with great speed. "Dodge it, Dragonite," Professor Oak instructed, and his Dragonite barely managed to evade the attack. "That was quite close," Professor Oak sighed in relief. "Now use Hyper Beam," Ash shouted. "You too, Dragonite," Professor Oak called. Both Dragonites launched an orange beam of light toward each other, creating shockwaves upon impact. The attacks neutralized each other. "It's a draw. Both seem to be of equal power," Gary observed. "Yeah, the power levels of both Dragonites are the same, but Ash lacks experience. I'm afraid he might lose, but I have full faith in him," Delia said. Professor Oak was surprised. "It's a draw. How?" He noticed a smirk on Ash's face and wondered what he was planning. "Dragonite, now use Dragon Breath," Ash commanded. "Oh no, he knows that attack." "Dragonite, dodge it," Professor Oak shouted, but his Dragonite was unable to evade the attack, resulting in a cloud of smoke rising from the ground. "I clearly underestimated him, and that was my fault," Professor Oak admitted. As the smoke cleared, it revealed that Oak's Dragonite was panting heavily but still ready to fight. "Okay, Dragonite, use Steel Wing," Ash instructed. "Not this time, Ash. Dragonite, catch him with Dragon Claw and then finish him with Hyper Beam," Professor Oak commanded. Oak's Dragonite caught Ash's Dragonite and threw it before unleashing a Hyper Beam that struck Ash's Dragonite hard. Despite the pain, Ash's Dragonite remained standing. "So, that's how it feels to fight a champion. But that doesn't matter, I will still win. Dragonite, Dragon Rage," Ash declared. "Me too, Dragonite," Professor Oak responded. Both Dragonites launched Dragon Rage at each other. Ash's Dragonite's attack overpowered Oak's, striking him hard. After the dust settled, a fainted Dragonite lay on the ground. "Dragonite is unable to battle, thus making Ash the winner," Gary announced. Ash petted his Dragonite and recalled him into its Pokeball. "You were so great, Ash, my boy," Professor Oak praised. "Thanks, Prof," Ash replied. "Now go home, Ash. It's already evening and Gary has to go too," Delia said. "Okay, Mom," Ash responded. "Okay, Aunt Delia," Gary added. Both boys headed to their respective homes. Once they left, Delia turned to Professor Oak. "Prof, do you think Ash is ready?" she asked. "Yes, Delia. I believe Ash is ready because he defeated me, and I was considered unbeatable. No one had defeated me except Red and Blue. I think he has the right to know who he really is," Professor Oak explained. "Yes, I think so too. He will be turning 5 in a few months. He has every right to know that he belongs to the royal family of Roda and that he is the Prince of Roda," Delia exclaimed. Ash, Gary, and a few other kids were at Professor Oak's ranch, eager to battle each other. There were 5 kids present: Ash, Gary, Green, Mike, and Colbin, who had recently moved from Kalos. They decided to play rock, paper, scissors to determine who would battle first. Gary faced Leaf and won, followed by Ash defeating Mike. Colbin, uninterested in battling, was chosen as the referee. Since Leaf and Mike didn't have their own Pokemon, they would use Pokemon from the ranch. Leaf chose Bulbasaur, while Mike selected Mudkip. "Let's get started with the first match," Colbin announced. "This will be a one-on-one battle between Gary and Leaf. The trainer whose Pokemon faints will be eliminated. Trainers, start the battle." "Heracross, stand by for me," Gary commanded. "Bulbasaur, go and show them what we can do," Leaf replied. Gary declared, "I have the first move." "Heracross, use Horn attack." Leaf countered, "Despite having the first move, you won't win." "Bulbasaur, use Vine Whip." Heracross charged at Bulbasaur, getting caught in its vines. "Now throw it." Leaf shouted. "Wait for it, Heracross," Gary instructed. Bulbasaur flung Heracross into the air, and as it soared, Gary called out, "Now start flying and use Solar Beam." Heracross flapped its wings and launched a bright beam towards Bulbasaur. "Bulbasaur, you too fast. Use Solar Beam." Leaf urged. Both beams collided, but Heracross's Solar Beam overpowered Bulbasaur's, causing it to faint. Bulbasaur fainted, making Gary the winner, Colbin announced. After shaking hands with Leaf, Gary watched as Ash battled Mike, easily defeating Mudkip with a single move. The others asked Ash how he became so powerful, and he simply replied, "Training." They played for a little while longer before heading home. Today, Ash was going to Roda because he had found an invitation letter at home. Flashback, Ash and Dragonite were returning from Professor Oak's lab, discussing battles. Upon arriving home, Ash rang the doorbell and called out, "Mom, we're home." Delia opened the door and scolded them, "How many times do I have to tell you not to yell?" "I heard the doorbell." "Okay, Mom, sorry," they both apologized. "Now go wash your hands and get ready for dinner," she instructed. At the mention of food, Ash and Dragonite rushed to the dining room, but Delia caught them. "Wash your hands first, Ash. Learn your table manners." "Okay, Mom," Ash replied. After washing up, they sat down at the table. As Delia served dinner, Ash noticed a paper on the table. Opening it, he discovered it was an invitation from the Kingdom of Roda, announcing a Pokemon Battle Championship. The winner would have a chance to become the hero of Roda. Excited, Ash stood up and asked his mom for permission to participate in the championship. He was eager to battle and prove he was the strongest, not necessarily interested in becoming a hero. "Mom, I want to go to Roda, please," Ash requested eagerly. "And why do you want to go?" Delia asked. "Because there is an event that will take place soon," Ash replied, excitement evident in his voice. "As expected," Delia said with a smile. "Okay, then get ready. We will go there the day after tomorrow." "Yeah." Ash cheered, and Dragonite joined in the excitement. They began to eat their food, a bit messy, as Delia watched them with a sigh, thinking, "Ash, when will you grow up?" Ash heard her but was too busy enjoying his meal to respond. Delia then scolded him gently, "Ash, don't eat too fast, otherwise, you might choke." Just as she said this, Ash started to choke. Delia quickly handed him a glass of water, mumbling, "Classic Ash, just like you, Red," and then she giggled softly. That night, Ash couldn't sleep well because he was thinking about all the new Pokemon he would see and all the people he would meet. Dragonite was equally restless, both of them buzzing with excitement. The day finally arrived, and Ash, along with Delia and Professor Oak, headed to Roda. Gary wanted to join them but was unable to go due to a fever. Before they left, Ash promised Gary that he would win the championship for him. Gary believed in Ash's abilities, especially since he had previously defeated Professor Oak. However, he couldn't shake the worry of what would happen if Ash didn't return. Who would be there for him then? Understanding his friend's concerns, Ash hugged Gary and reassured him, "I will come back, I promise." Gary replied, "You have to come," and they shared a heartfelt hug. Delia and Professor Oak smiled at the bond between the boys. After saying their goodbyes, Ash left with Delia and Professor Oak in Oak's car, while Gary waved goodbye from Leaf's arms. Upon arriving in Roda that evening, Ash, Professor Oak, and Delia booked a hotel room for their stay since they couldn't stay at the Pokemon Center as they weren't trainers at the moment. They began exploring the kingdom, starting at a mall where they searched for an outfit for Ash. Although many outfits caught his eye, none felt right until he discovered an Aura Guardian outfit reminiscent of Sir Aaron, the legendary warrior. With stars in his eyes, he rushed to show his mom. "Mom, can you buy this outfit for me?" he asked excitedly. "Yes, sure," Delia replied, adding, "It will look great on you." "Thanks, Mom." Ash beamed and hurried to the changing room. When he emerged wearing the outfit, he looked stunning, drawing the attention of several girls nearby. Delia approached him and said, "Ash dear, you look amazing." "Thanks, Mom," he replied, feeling proud. They then made their way to the palace for the championship. The rules were simple. There were 32 participants, all older than 13 years, and Ash was the youngest among them. As the championship began, Ash's first match was against a boy named Mike, the runner-up of the Kanto League. The crowd was shocked to see a 5-year-old boy stepping up to battle such a seasoned competitor. Many believed Mike would easily defeat Ash. However, 2 supporters believed in Ash, Professor Oak and Delia, who cheered him on. Unbeknownst to them, 2 more people were rooting for Ash Queen and Red, though even the Queen's personal maid was unaware. The referee looked to the Queen for confirmation, and she nodded, signaling the match to start. "This is a match between Ash Ketchum from Pallet Town and the Kanto League runner-up Mike Botano from Gold City of Kanto. Both of you, send out your Pokemon," announced the referee. The match commenced. Mike threw a Pokeball, releasing a Blastoise that let out a loud roar. Ash followed suit, sending out a Scizor that stood confidently with its arms crossed. "You weakling, you can't defeat me," Mike taunted arrogantly. "What is your age, kid?" "Turning 5 in 2 months, Ash replied calmly. "A kid not even 5 can defeat me, haha." Mike laughed, clearly underestimating Ash. "We'll see," Ash said determinedly. "Start the battle," the referee commanded. "Blastoise, show that weakling what we are capable of." "Hydro Pump." Mike shouted. Blastoise unleashed a powerful jet of water toward Scizor. "Scizor, Hyper Beam." Ash commanded. Scizor fired a brilliant beam of light at Blastoise. The 2 attacks collided, but after a moment, Hyper Beam began to overpower Hydro Pump, striking Blastoise with a solid impact. The crowd gasped in astonishment, unable to comprehend how a young child's Pokemon could match the strength of the Kanto League runner-up. Even Mike was taken aback by the unexpected turn of events. This was impossible for the kid to possess that much power. "Shocked, huh?" Ash taunted. "No, not a bit," Mike replied, trying to maintain his composure. "Use Skull Bash. Scizor, wait until it comes near you, then catch it with your claws and throw it back. Then use Hyper Beam," Ash commanded. As Blastoise approached, Scizor grabbed it with its claws, threw it back, and unleashed a powerful Hyper Beam, finishing the battle. Blastoise lay defeated, swirls in its eyes. Blastoise is unable to battle. "So the winner is Ash and Scizor," the referee announced. Mike was completely shocked. He couldn't believe he lost to a 5-year-old. Thoughts flooded his mind, but he didn't notice someone approaching him. Looking up, he saw Ash, the boy who had defeated him. To Mike's surprise, Ash raised his hand for a handshake. Confused, Mike wondered why Ash wanted to shake hands with him, a loser who had been defeated so easily. But what Ash said next shocked him even more. "You are not a loser because you fought well. You didn't cheat. You are the real winner. Don't lose hope, Ash encouraged. Mike felt tears welling up in his eyes. He hugged Ash and apologized for his earlier behavior. Ash accepted the apology, saying, "There's no need to cry," as he wiped Mike's tears away. They shared a friendly handshake before parting ways, leaving the audience in tears after witnessing the heartfelt moment. Afterward, Ash approached Professor Oak and Delia, who congratulated him and expressed their pride in his achievement. After defeating Mike, Ash was placed in the top. He faced a trainer named Kale, who was quickly defeated by Ash's powerful Queen Bee. Next, Ash ranked 8th and had to battle Bruley with his Pidgeot. Bruley sent out his Gabite, but Ash's Pidgeot defeated it in mere seconds, shocking the audience with the boy's incredible power. This 5-year-old had come out of nowhere, defeating elite-level battlers with ease. Reaching the semi-finals, Ash was determined to show everyone that he was the strongest Pokemon trainer in the world. Although he enjoyed the matches, he felt disappointed by the lack of competition, especially since Mike had lost early on. Now, it was time for the semi-finals. On one side was Ash, and on the other was a boy named Compa. Compa threw his Ultra Ball, releasing a Metagross, while Ash sent out Scizor. Scizor quickly defeated Metagross, surprising Ash, as no one else in the tournament had managed to withstand his attacks. After the semi-finals, Queen Aline announced a break, and everyone began to leave the stadium. Ash went to his mother and Professor Oak, who both hugged him and congratulated him on his victory. Finally, it was time for the finals. The stadium was filled with cheering fans, all applauding Ash for reaching the finals at such a young age. Queen Aline addressed the audience, thanking all participants and the cheering crowd. The referee announced, "This is the finals of the annual Roda League. In the red corner, we have the young magician, the boy of merely 5 years who has defeated every participant, Ash Ketchum from Pallet Town. And in the green corner, we have the legend of legends, the Dragon Master, the champion of Johto, and the Elite Four of Kanto, Lance himself." Ash, Delia, and Professor Oak were stunned. "What? Lance? This is not possible!" Ash exclaimed, his eyes wide with shock. "You are one of the strongest trainers in the world," he said, filled with determination. Lance smiled, recognizing the determination in Ash's eyes. "Yes, I am. And you are not any less. You two-shot Mike, who defeated my first and second elite but lost to Agatha's Jengar." "Agatha had a hard time defeating him," Lance replied. Ash felt a blush of embarrassment at the praise but quickly regained his composure. "Well, leave that, Lance, and battle me. I will defeat you and show you that I am the strongest," Ash declared, determination shining in his eyes. Lance accepted the challenge, saying, "I am the 3rd strongest Pokemon trainer in the world, but if you defeat me, you will become the strongest Pokemon trainer in Kanto after Red and Blue." Ash nodded confidently. The referee announced, "Show your Pokemon." "Ash, Dragonite, I choose you." Ash called, sending out his strongest Pokemon. "Go, Dragonite. Show them some champion time." Lance commanded, releasing his ace Pokemon. "Start the battle," the referee announced. Referee's speech was underlined while Ash's speech was italicized. Ash commanded, "Dragonite, use Hyper Beam." Lance responded, "You too, Dragonite." Both Pokemon unleashed their attacks simultaneously, resulting in a draw. Lance, surprised, remarked, "Huh, he drew my attack." They both then commanded, "Use Air Slash." Again, the attacks resulted in a draw. Growing impatient, Lance instructed his Dragonite to use Dragon Breath, and Ash followed suit with the same command. Once more, the attacks drew. Frustration built within Lance as he wondered how a young boy could match his strength. Determined to end the battle quickly, he commanded his Dragonite to use Hyper Beam. Before Lance's Dragonite could execute the move, Ash called out, "Dragonite, use Draco Meteor." A meteor struck Lance's Dragonite, causing it to grunt in pain. But the battle was far from over. Lance ordered his Dragonite to use Dragon Claw, while Ash's Dragonite was instructed to do the same. However, Lance's Dragonite cleverly maneuvered behind Ash's Dragonite and struck with Dragon Claw from the back. Ash's Dragonite grunted in pain, and Lance seized the opportunity to command another Hyper Beam. The attack hit Ash's Dragonite hard, leaving it struggling to rise. Yet, Ash's Dragonite managed to dodge Lance's next command, Dragon Pulse, and Ash quickly ordered, "Use Dragon Breath." The attack landed, causing Lance's Dragonite to grunt in pain. Ash's Dragonite then finished the battle with a powerful Hyper Beam, leaving Lance's Dragonite dazed. The crowd was stunned by the outcome, including Lance himself. No one moved for a moment, but Ash's mother, Delia, and Professor Oak were the first to clap for him. Delia had believed in Ash from the beginning and knew he would win. Soon, the entire stadium erupted in applause for Ash, who had achieved the remarkable feat of defeating a champion at such a young age. Lance, recovering from his shock, smiled at Ash and extended his hand for a handshake. Ash looked at him in disbelief, unable to comprehend that he was shaking hands with the champion. After the handshake, Lance complimented Ash, stating that he was truly strong and that only a few could defeat him, like Professor Oak, Red, and Blue. Ash nodded, expressing his determination to be the very best and defeat anyone who stood in his way. Lance smiled at Ash's resolve before continuing on his way. In the next chapter, Queen Eline's maid announced, "Queen Eline, it's your time. Go and give the speech." The Queen stood and took the microphone, saying, "First of all, I want to thank everyone for coming here. Because of you all, the tournament of Roda is still famous. According to our rituals, the winner of the tournament is announced the guardian of Roda for the next year. Today, this small boy has won the tournament, and for this year, he is our guardian." The crowd erupted into cheers, praising Ash for his talent, while some expressed jealousy, and young children admired him. After the Queen concluded her speech, she signaled to the announcer, who declared, "Now it is time to close the battleground. All of you may leave. Thank you for coming." As the announcement was made, the battlefield began to empty. Ash and Delia were escorted to the castle, with Professor Oak following closely behind. Upon entering the palace grounds, a loud blast echoed, resembling the sound of fireworks. Moments later, rockets shot into the sky, forming the shapes of two faces, a lady in her mid-twenties and a small boy of 5 years old. "It's us," Ash exclaimed. "Yes, it's you too," someone replied from the front. It was Queen Eline. "Queen Eline," Ash said, surprised by her presence, and immediately bowed before her. "No need to bow, Ash. After all, we are family." The Queen's revelation left Ash confused. Noticing his bewilderment, she added, "You are my nephew, Ash, right?" "Yes, you are right, Eline," Delia replied. This only deepened Ash's confusion. How could the Queen be his aunt? It seemed impossible. If she was indeed his aunt, why hadn't his mother told him? Why had she kept this a secret? Questions swirled in his mind, and he felt a strong desire to learn more about his family. To uncover the truth, he asked, "Mom, why did you keep this a secret? Why didn't you tell me?" Delia, who had been speaking with her sister-in-law, turned to him and explained, "After the wedding, we went on our honeymoon to Pallet town. We chose that place because it was beautiful, where Pokemon roamed freely, and there was a unique bond between Pokemon and humans. It was also your dad Red's birthplace. He lived there until he was 5, then moved here with his mother." She continued, "When they arrived, they learned that Roda was under attack from other kingdoms. Roda was the most powerful empire at that time, and it still holds that status." "Wow," Ash admired. "After returning home, your grandmother Gloria found out that her father had been killed on a mission. With no king, she took on the role and bravely fought against the other kingdoms. What happened then? Did she win?" Ash asked, eager to learn more about his ancestors. Both women smiled, and Delia continued, "She managed to win the fight, but at the cost of her husband. Afterward, she felt hopeless and considered giving up. However, her spirits were lifted whenever she looked at your father's face. He was her beacon of hope. When he turned 18, he became king, but soon after, Gloria passed away. Before the crowning, she arranged for me to marry your father. Delia explained how Red felt nostalgic about Pallet Town, recalling how he started his journey there after receiving his starter Pokemon from Professor Oak. His starter was a Charmander, and he was a loyal friend, just like yours. His battling style was also unpredictable, she confirmed. Really? Ash asked, intrigued. Delia nodded and continued, we returned to Pallet Town for our honeymoon. We visited the lab, where we met Professor Oak, Leaf, and Blue. We had a wonderful time together. After spending 2 weeks there, we planned to return home. But Red and Green were called back for a mission, and I haven't seen him since. When Red left, Leaf urged me to return home, but I insisted she stay and govern Roda. I promised to take her place when I returned, and she agreed. Wow, that was a long but interesting story. But the ending is sad, Ash said. Yes, you're right, Ash. I miss him, Delia replied, her voice filled with emotion. No need to cry, Delia. I am here, someone said from behind. No need to cry, Delia. I am here, a voice called from behind. Delia turned to see a man in his mid-20s, her husband, Red Ketchum Cameron. Red, she exclaimed, running toward him with great speed. Red mirrored her excitement, and they embraced tightly. Eileen smiled at the heartwarming scene, while Ash looked on, puzzled. As Red hugged Delia, he noticed Ash standing nearby. He opened his arms, inviting Ash to join the hug. Without hesitation, Ash rushed over, wrapping his arms around both of them. Soon, Eileen joined in, creating a warm family hug. They lingered in the embrace, savoring the moment, their shared happiness radiating an uplifting energy that brightened the mood of the Pokemon around them. Watching from a distance, Professor Oak, Delia's maid, and 2 guards smiled at the touching reunion. Professor Oak had not expected Red to be alive, he had received news of Red's supposed demise during a mission. Yet, deep down, he had held on to hope, believing that Red was still out there. He had kept this news from Delia, fearing it would devastate her. Now, seeing Red alive filled him with joy. On the day he received the news of Red's death, he had prayed to Arceus, wishing for it to be false. It seemed his prayers had been answered. After they parted from the hug, Red noticed the confusion on Ash and Delia's faces. Understanding their curiosity, he spoke up. You must be wondering how I am here and why I didn't show myself sooner. Delia and Ash nodded, while Eileen continued to smile, knowing the truth. Red began to recount his story. I was called to a mountainous area in Johto. When I arrived, I found our team in disarray, their Pokemon defeated. I saw Blue there and rushed to him, demanding to know what had happened. Team Rocket, Blue replied simply. Fueled by anger, Red summoned his Charizard and soared toward Mount Silver, determined to confront the enemy. He reached their base quickly, taking down every grunt and hunting down Giovanni, their leader. While in Giovanni's office, Red discovered a notebook with a design and a phrase written in an unfamiliar language. Curious, he took a photo of it and searched for a translation, which revealed a chilling message, the destruction of the world. As he turned to leave, the floor beneath him opened up, and he slid down a slippery tunnel, landing in a cage. Though being caged was not surprising, what shocked him was the sight of Giovanni, grinning at him, surrounded by scientists working on something sinister. Delia and Ash listened intently, eager to understand. How is Giovanni alive? Delia asked, her eyes wide. Red smiled slightly. At that time, I thought I had killed him, but it turned out those were just decoys. The real Giovanni was waiting for me, fully aware of my plans. Ash, concerned for his father, asked, how did you escape? Did you fight them? I could have fought, but I wanted to learn their plans. I pretended to be weak and allowed them to capture me, which gave me insight into their operations. Eventually, I gathered enough information to destroy their base and eliminate their members, but Giovanni managed to escape with crucial resources. His master plan to destroy the world is what worries me most. I'm not quite sure myself if we will be able to stop him. Red explained everything to Ash, Delia, and Eileen. Hearing this, all of them became worried for Red, but Delia felt a surge of anger. She was frustrated with him for his recklessness. How many times have I told you not to jump into danger like this? There are others who can help. You need to rest. If you're the only one who can save the world, then why do they call themselves champions? Think about your family, Red. Don't you know how much we've been through while you were away? I waited for you every night, hoping to see your face. We suffered a lot in your absence. You know how hard it is to raise a baby alone, Delia said, tears in her eyes. She spoke from the heart, worried for both Red and their child. I'm sorry, Delia, for all the trouble I've caused. But look on the bright side, we're together now. Nobody can separate us for a while, and tomorrow is Ash's coronation as Roda's prince, Red said, trying to lift Delia's spirits and his own. Hearing this, Delia's mood shifted slightly. But father, I don't want to become a prince. It will keep me stuck in one place. And I want to travel, Ash interjected. Who said you can't travel while being a prince? You're allowed to go on journeys, Red reassured him. Ash's face lit up with happiness, and he accepted the proposal to be a prince. The family went inside, and Red listened as Ash shared stories about his adventures over the past few years. Ash showed him his newly caught Pokemon, and Red was amazed by his son's strength, especially when he learned that Ash had defeated Lance, a challenge that had troubled Red in his youth. After all, Ash was his son, and Red felt a swell of pride at his accomplishments at such a young age. Meanwhile, Delia and Eileen caught up with each other, discussing dresses, recipes, and the kingdom's advancements in technology and military. Eileen showed Ash his room, while Red and Delia went to their old room, the royal chamber. It was the largest and most beautifully decorated room in the palace. They settled in for the night, aware that tomorrow would be a significant day. The next day, the entire kingdom of Roda was adorned with decorations, flags, and lights. The people were excited to welcome back their king, queen, and the young prince. News had spread that the Aura League winner was their true prince, and the kingdom was filled with pride for Ash's accomplishments. Boys his age looked up to him as an idol, while girls were captivated by his charm and strength. In the palace, a young boy was being prepared for the ceremony by the adults, with his mother selecting a royal outfit for him. On the balcony of the castle, the announcement began. My brothers and sisters of the great kingdom of Roda, we have gathered here for the solemn occasion of the coronation of our beloved prince, who has returned from his birthplace. The crowd cheered, and applause erupted for the king and queen as they moved toward the place where the prince's crown was displayed. The king picked it up and called for the prince to appear. Ash stepped forward, greeted by cheers from the crowd. He smiled and waved, and the applause grew louder. In his formal attire, Ash looked even more impressive, causing the girls to blush. The king addressed him, asking, "Are you Ashton Ketchum Cameron, willing to be the prince of the kingdom and work for the well-being of your people?" "Yes, I'm willing and will do everything in my power for the kingdom's welfare," Ash replied confidently, facing the crowd. "Then with this crown, you will become the crowned prince of Roda," the king said, placing the crown on Ash's head and completing the ceremony. That night was filled with celebration, and everyone enjoyed the royal dance in the palace. Ash sought permission from his father to join the festivities, indulging in the delicious food available. Although it didn't matter to the guests, Delia made a mental note to teach him proper etiquette. The day had been exhausting for everyone, especially for Ash, who had never experienced anything like it. Despite the fatigue, he relished every moment, knowing that his life was about to change significantly. With these thoughts in mind, he drifted off to sleep. Since that day, Ash's routine transformed. He began regular lessons with his father and uncle about Pokemon, while his mother taught him how to conduct himself in public. He frequently visited the town, engaging with the people, understanding their challenges, and offering solutions, all at such a young age. People now considered him a family member and loved him as they would their own children. Most of his time was spent playing in the back garden with various types of Pokemon, which he enjoyed immensely. Meeting new kinds of Pokemon and learning about their different types was always fascinating to him. He let his Pokemon roam freely in the garden, and they were having a great time as well. In the meantime, he caught many new Pokemon, including a Charmander, a Metang, and a Gabite, all of whom wanted to be part of his family. His life was going well, but deep down, he felt incomplete. He was eagerly waiting for the moment when he would fall in love with a human girl, a moment that would be captured in the Golden Book of History. Last time, Ash learned a lot of new things and adapted to his princely duties. He behaved like a prince and was keen on the welfare of the kingdom's people. Over time, he matured and mastered his training programs, becoming skilled enough to handle various challenges. He became the best chef in the kingdom of Roda, learning many new recipes with the help of his mother. He outmatched nearly every popular chef around the world. Ash also learned to camp and survive in the wild on his own, gaining knowledge about various berries and their effects. His agility allowed him to navigate trees with ease. His charm was enhanced by his knowledge of science and technology, having been tutored by Professor Oak and other top teachers. He developed a theory on Pokemon evolution that explained the reasons behind it and created a new type of watch, the Nanodex, at just 7.5 years old. Professors worldwide were amazed by his discoveries, but the Kingdom of Roda kept this a secret, publishing his work under his real name, Ashton Cameron Ketchum. Eileen focused on Ash's improvement, unaware of how quickly he was learning. To her and Red, his progress was astonishing. Ash spent much of his time with his Pokemon in the garden, training them and reminding them of their weaknesses. All of his Pokemon had reached their final stages of evolution, with Gabite evolving into Garchomp, Metang into Metagross, and Charmander into Charizard. Dragonite remained Ash's strongest Pokemon, but another lizard was quickly catching up. Despite their strength, Ash's Pokemon were polite and generous, allowing the guards to clean them without retaliating against any wild Pokemon that annoyed them. However, Ash felt bored due to the lack of work and longed to travel and explore. He knew the Pokemon Super League franchise didn't allow children under 10 to travel, but he was confident that his Aunt Eileen would manage things while he was away. Meanwhile, Delia was speaking with Professor Oak about her home in Pallet Town when he had an idea. He mentioned that he and other regional professors had organized a summer camp for children under 10 to train and prepare for their future as trainers. Delia was intrigued but wanted to know why he was discussing it with her. Professor Oak expressed his desire for Ash to attend the camp, believing it would be a great opportunity for him to socialize and have fun. Delia agreed to call Ash, signaling one of the maids to fetch him. Ash was playing with his Pokemon, enjoying their antics when Alyssa approached him, informing him that the Queen wanted to speak with him. He followed her to his mother, where he noticed Professor Oak on the phone. "Ah! Ash, my boy. I was waiting for you," Professor Oak said. "Hi, Professor. How are you?" Ash replied. "I'm fine, my boy," Oak responded. Delia then informed Ash that the professor had something to discuss with him. "What is it, Professor?" Ash asked, shifting his attention. "I know you've been feeling bored, so I have an idea for you," Professor Oak said. "Really? What is it?" Ash's excitement was evident. "We, along with other regional professors, have organized a summer camp for students under 10, and I want you to be there." Ash's face lit up with happiness. "Thanks, Professor. I wanted something like that. It will be great for me to meet new people and make friends." "When does the summer camp start?" "It begins the day after tomorrow in Pallet Town," Oak replied. "Yes, my hometown," Ash exclaimed, jumping with enthusiasm. He rushed to the royal garden to inform all his Pokemon, who were equally excited. "I'll get to see Gary too." But was this summer camp just for fun, or was there more to it? Stay tuned to find out. A man resembling an agent entered a dimly lit room where another man sat in a chair. "I got your thing," the agent stated, feeling confident about the easy job. "Good," replied the man in the chair, his features hidden in the shadows. "Now give it to me." The agent handed over the item. He had checked the Kanto official registry and obtained what he needed quickly. The officials had complied with his requests without hesitation. "It's in the envelope there." "I got 2 photos," he said. "Still, something is bothering me," the man said. "Why do you want the photo of this kid?" "It's not that important." "You need not interfere," the man retorted sharply, his tone leaving no room for further questions. The agent felt a knot of unease tighten in his stomach and attempted to excuse himself. "So, I need to go now," he said. Before he could leave, the man's voice pierced the silence. "Where are you going?" "To my place," the agent replied, apprehension creeping into his voice. The man's chilling laughter echoed off the walls. "Do you think I will let you go after you know my intention?" he said coldly, his eyes gleaming with a sinister light. Panic surged through the agent as he struggled to grasp the situation. "But I work for you," he stuttered, fear evident in his voice. "It does not matter anymore," the man declared, his gaze terrifying. As the agent tried to flee, he found himself unable to move, as if his body had betrayed him. The man's laughter echoed in his ears, and he realized with dawning horror that he had unwittingly walked into a trap. "You are no longer needed in this world," the man said, gripping the agent's throat and lifting him off the ground. "Now," he continued, locking eyes with him. As the agent looked into those eyes, he felt as if he were being torn apart. A wave of nausea washed over him as he realized he was staring into the eyes of pure malevolence. The agent's cries filled the room, but they were drowned out by the man's cruel laughter, a sound that sent chills down the spine. He felt himself being pulled into darkness, his very essence consumed by the void. As his screams faded, the man's laughter lingered in the empty room, a haunting reminder that in the presence of true evil, there is no escape. In the peaceful kingdom of Roda, a palace stood amidst the beauty. In one of its rooms, a raven-haired boy slept soundly, his soft snores filling the air. He had a face that many boys would envy, with features that were unmatched and a warm golden honey skin tone that added to his charm. It was already 7 a.m., and he would have been awake if he had gone to bed earlier the night before. But excitement for the day ahead had kept him awake. A knock on the door interrupted his slumber. "Prince Ash, please wake up. Today is the day of your summer camp. Professor Oak and Master Gary are already waiting for you," someone called from outside. Ash's sleep vanished as he heard the voice. He threw off the blanket and sat up, panic rising when he saw the clock on the wall. He quickly grabbed his clothes and dashed toward the bathroom, saying, "Coming, Alyssa. Just tell them to wait a few minutes. I'll be right there." Alyssa giggled, knowing he had overslept. She was aware of his eagerness for the camp, as he often talked about it. Remembering how his Pokemon were also excited, she chuckled to herself, thinking, like trainer, like Pokemon, before heading downstairs with a smile. Minutes later, Ash arrived downstairs, making his way to the living room. He noticed Professor Oak and his best friend Gary sitting on the sofa, talking to his mother, Delia, and Aunt Aline. Professor Oak stood up as Ash entered. "Ash, my boy. I was waiting for you. You're late, but don't worry, we are here to take you to Pallet Town." "Yeah, Professor, sorry about that. I was feeling really sleepy today. But I'm here now, and I'm so excited for the trip and the camp." Ash replied. "I know you're excited, Ashy boy, but I don't want to be late for the camp because of your introduction." "I want to attend the camp," Gary said, sounding frustrated. Yeah, Gare Bear, whatever. "Professor, I also want to get there as soon as we can, so shall we head out?" Ash suggested. "Sure, Ash. I've parked my Jeep in the lot. You both can come with me," Professor Oak said, heading outside toward the parking area. They took their seats in the jeep and bid farewell to everyone before setting off. As they drove through the forest and outskirts of the cities, Ash and Gary eagerly discussed the different Pokemon they spotted along the way. Ash, always eager to learn, asked Professor Oak about any unfamiliar Pokemon they encountered. Professor Oak shared insights about each Pokemon, discussing their types, specialties, and lifestyles. He often emphasized the true meaning of being a Pokemon master. Remember, Ash, it's not just about being the best trainer or the strongest champion. A Pokemon master is someone who understands their Pokemon and has a strong bond with them, Professor Oak explained. A strong bond? I don't quite understand, Professor, Ash replied, curious. Yes, Grandpa, can you please elaborate? Gary and Ash asked, confused about what he wanted to tell them. Seeing their expressions, Professor Oak chuckled lightly and explained, it means that we should love our Pokemon in the same way we love a friend. Befriend every single Pokemon on our journey and try not to hurt any of them. You should have a special bond with them, just as you have with each other. Understand one another and think about what's best for each other. Don't just train them rigorously to make them stronger, that's not what a true Pokemon master should do. And most importantly, don't focus solely on the outcome, enjoy the process. This perspective surprised them, embedding a new way of thinking in their minds, especially the last line. The professor continued, you both are quite new to this world, you will soon understand the true meaning of life. Don't worry about the outcomes. Do your duty, complete your work, and let time reveal the results. Wow, thanks, Professor. You've given us a lot of knowledge and a new way of thinking. I think I understand what you're talking about, don't you, Gary? Ash said. Yeah, me too, Grandpa. I didn't realize things were this deep. I admit I don't understand it completely, but I've got the general idea. Thanks, Grandpa, I'll always keep this in mind. Professor Oak smiled as he listened to them, thinking, I'm sure you will. In fact, I believe you both are destined for true greatness. Time is the greatest teacher. When the moment comes, the world will witness your greatness. I believe in both of you. Time passed, and they reached Pallet, their hometown, and then headed to the professor's lab. As they stepped onto the land and inhaled the fresh air of Pallet, Ash exclaimed, oh, it feels so good to be here again. This smell is so nostalgic and wonderful. I really missed this place, even though it hasn't been long. Yeah, I know what you mean, Ash. It feels great to be back. I feel the same way when I'm away from town, Professor Oak replied. Let's get to the buses, Grandpa. They might be waiting for us, Ash suggested. Yes, Professor. I'm eager to meet my friends here, Gary added. With that, they went to the other side of the lab and saw the buses. They entered one of the buses, which was not a normal passenger bus but a full two-story vehicle with a capacity to carry 60 students at a time. It was silvery white with golden stripes on the outside, and inside, the seats were soft and bouncy. Ash and Gary chose seats in the last row while the professor took a seat near the driver. There were many kids inside the bus. Ash recognized his friends as they made their way towards him to sit close by and enjoy their time together. Once everyone was settled, the bus departed for the camp. Excitement filled the air as everyone looked forward to meeting new people and making new friends. As time unfolded, great events awaited them in the future. It was just the beginning of their adventure. The bus arrived at the camp, a beautiful place that excited all the kids. As they stepped off, their enthusiasm was palpable, but the teachers quickly gathered them together. Professor Oak led Ash and Gary toward a large camp that appeared to be freshly prepared. Upon entering, Ash was taken aback not only by the beauty of the area but also by the sight of regional professors from faraway regions. He had met them before during a secret gathering in the kingdom of Roda. Their warm smiles made him feel welcomed, and he eagerly ran to greet them. Among the professors, Professor Juniper had developed a special bond with Ash, treating him like a son. She had always wanted a child of her own and found joy in her relationship with him. Did you like my surprise, Ash?" Professor Oak asked. Ash, initially pretending to be unimpressed, quickly revealed, "I loved it." This brought smiles to everyone, especially Professor Juniper, who hugged him tightly in delight. After some brief conversations, the group moved outside, knowing the teachers were waiting to explain the camp's activities. The teachers had a challenging task ahead of them, trying to manage the excited kids who were eager to explore. A few minutes later, Professor Oak gathered the children and explained the camp's plan. They were lined up according to height, with Ash and Gary among them. First, you will learn how to set up a camp. You'll be randomly assigned to groups with new teammates, so make sure to befriend them as it's important for your learning process. Tomorrow, we'll start the tournament, and you can begin building your camps after receiving your team lists. Each child received a sheet with the names and images of their assigned partners. To Ash's surprise, he was paired with Gary, though he didn't recognize the other two names on the list. Gary was equally pleased to see Ash in his group and went off to find the others. As Ash wandered around, he heard Gary calling his name. Following the sound, he found Gary near a camp with two other kids. Upon entering, Ash recognized them from the list and felt a wave of happiness. "Looks like you set everything up without me," Ash praised Gary. "Of course. I'm always better than you, and this proves it. After all, I'm Professor Oak's grandson," Gary replied confidently. Yeah, I know," Ash shrugged. "Hey, what are you guys talking about?" a newcomer asked. "Nothing special," Gary replied, changing the subject. He introduced the others. "Ash, this is Callum," pointing to a boy in a blue shirt, "and that's Paul," indicating a quieter boy in the corner. Gary leaned in and whispered to Ash, "He talks less." "Hi, Callum and Paul. Nice to meet you. I'm Ash from Pallet Town. I hope we can be friends," Ash said with a smile. "Hi. I want to be your friend too," Callum replied enthusiastically. Paul simply nodded. Ash then remembered something and rummaged through his bag. "I got it," he exclaimed, pulling out several foldable sleeping bags. "Professor gave these to me to share with you all." He distributed the bags, which made their packs feel much heavier. They settled onto their sleeping bags and began sharing stories about their lives and adventures. As they talked, Paul gradually opened up, becoming friendlier and less reserved. When Ash revealed that he was the Prince of Roda, both Callum and Paul were taken aback. Ash felt a bit annoyed with Gary for sharing his secret but quickly brushed it off, reminding them to keep it confidential. They nodded eagerly, still in shock. Ash and Gary showcased their Pokemon, with Gary presenting his Vaporeon and Magby, while Ash revealed his Dragonite, Pidgeot, and Scizor. Callum and Paul were amazed, especially by the impressive Dragonite. "How did you get such a strong Pokemon, Ash?" Paul asked, surprising everyone with his curiosity. "They didn't come from a capture, they chose to be with me. This Dragonite hatched from an egg given to me by its mother," Ash explained. The others nodded, impressed. Callum shared that he had just received a fletchling from his mother, while Paul introduced his Elekid. "Wow, you both have some strong Pokemon," Gary complimented. "Thanks," they replied in unison. Just as they were about to sit back down, an announcement echoed through the camp: "Every student is requested to arrive at the main site for food distribution. Please gather here. Don't come in a hurry, you might hurt yourself," was announced. "Well, that was our call, I guess," Ash said as he stood up again. "Yeah, we need to head outside, I'm hungry too," Gary replied. It was already lunchtime, and everyone moved towards the main area to grab their meals. Ash and his friends joined the crowd, taking their food and heading towards a flat area they had discovered earlier, which they considered their spot for lunch and fun. As they approached the dune, Gary walked ahead of his three friends, with Ash bringing up the rear. Ash's gaze wandered, his eyes taking in every detail of the surroundings. He caught sight of a certain short honey-blonde girl, and in an instant, he was captivated by her beauty. There was something about her that made her even more special in his eyes. He noticed she was sitting alone on a bench, possibly waiting for someone. Unconsciously, he began to make his way toward her, each step closing the distance between them. The air around him became pleasantly warm, and nature seemed to radiate a soothing aura. It felt as if the trees were swaying gently, and a beautiful melody filled the air. He moved closer until he stood right in front of her, and the moment of history had arrived. Everyone had been waiting for this, the debut of our heroine. In the context of film and series, the term heroine refers to the leading actress, who holds great importance alongside the hero. This chapter may not meet all expectations, but I appreciate your patience. I promise that upcoming chapters will be much better. Your feedback on this chapter would be greatly valued. Chapter End.